Alright, what's up dudes? Today we're going to do another video on how to advance Tandem. Unfortunately it's at the exact same track, just because that's the server that's populated right now and it's a good one to be in, with a lot of examples to follow people. It is in daytime though, so you'll be able to see a lot more, and I have changed the sound mixing. Everyone was talking about the music being too loud, so hopefully it's much less loud now and you can just mainly hear me. Just do some laps and see who's smooth. We're driving a Tandem Buddies S14 right now. Just low power again, like the other car I was driving. Same track, I mentioned that already, but I just need to get somebody consistent to follow. So I'll just do a couple laps here to warm up and then start talking about different things. Just do this for a sec. So I like to go outside line here, and then I kind of keep it quicker on the transition there, usually. That was a really slow, flowy one. But I'm about to hit these guys, so I need to kill some speed, more angle. Man, they screwed up. Alright, go, go, go. Screwed up too, darn. Alright, so outside line there, that's obviously the riskiest and coolest line because you could actually hit the guardrail there. It's not a fake guardrail or anything, but want to be on the outside lane just so people can tuck up on you. Like I said in the other video, you know, I just like to give a nice lead so that the follow can be good. That's really key. If somebody's giving you a crappy lead line, it's very difficult to get close to them. Or if their driving's erratic or anything like that, they're not smooth and set with their angle. The smoother and more predictable you are out front, the nicer the tandem will look if you're working together to make cool tandem. If you're battling someone in real life, it doesn't exactly always work like that, but on a game, I mean, you're just trying to get close to them and make it look good, so why not give a nice, smooth, wide lead line instead of just drag racing away or trying to get away? That's pointless. Big helping of e-brake there for a big snap, along with the foot brake stab at the same time. You'll notice I transition a lot of times on the foot brake, so like right when I'm waiting for the car naturally going to snap based on wheel speed, I'll stab the foot brake at the same time. That allows you to really the snap out of it. Like right there, it was going to snap anyway, even if I didn't hit the foot brake and clutch in. But when you do that, you're essentially locking the rears. It's kind of like a mini e-brake move when you clutch in and do it. You don't actually use the e-brake. Practice that a little bit. It's cool because if you incorporate it with the e-brake, it makes the snap that much more aggressive. Whoops, I think that was a little wide. Here, just little brakes. Alright. You guys have seen enough lead laps of the line I take, so just try to follow somebody here. Oh, cool. See if this guy will pass me or not. Alright. Oh no, this line's bad. So right now I can already tell this guy's a little bit out of control. You know, he was going toward the guardrail, kind of in a bad line. He has no grip in that car. I'm able to run him down very easily. I don't know why the other guy's going backwards. Half the trouble of trying to show you guys any techniques is finding someone who's consistent, who can just link every lap and like do it for multiple laps in a row. That's really tough to find, unfortunately. Some dudes are very good, but a lot of them are still learning. That's why it's great to tandem with your buddy to practice, you know, someone that's good. Get a lot more useful laps. These guys are not, they're too sketchy. Let's see the next guy. Oh, see, he's angle stalling like crazy. You can basically expect the spin out when you see that. I always think of the steering when you're angling up like a rubber band. So the more angle you put into it in one direction, before you transition, the harder it's going to snap the other way. And if you're not ready for it, I mean, it's just going to out of control tank slapper come around on you. And that's exactly what just happened to that dude. He had way too much angle in the first direction, and then it finally caught, snapped him hard the other way. Stay there. There we go. Cleared him. Oop, didn't clear that. Alright, come on. Let's see if we can find somebody here. This is ridiculous. Everyone's in the pits or screwing up. Alright, somebody's on me. There we go. Only he could give me a good lead. I'll do one lap and then see if he'll pass. Usually I like to partner up with somebody when I'm tandeming online, and I'll just do a lead lap, and then I'll have a designated like passing area where I just go extra wide and they'll pass me. Like Mario and I do that a bunch, where we just pick one spot and be like, okay, let's go wide right here, you know, run an extra wide line, and the other guy can just dive in. Just keep the party going. Hot lapping's so much more fun than stop-start. Like, oh, let's line up again. All right, now launch at the same time. Like, it's too much work. It's so much more fun to just keep rolling it. Like, oh, it came out of the last corner. Okay, boom, let's hit this entry. And that's awesome. Rather than like drag racing again. I'm not a huge drag racing fan, but probably just because I'm not very good at it. My car, despite having a lot of power, doesn't have a lot of forward bite in real life, so I always get dusted on the run-up. That's why the hot lap is so much more fun for me. I can actually be with them on the entry, which is actually super important. People don't really like talk about that enough when you're learning tandem, but being on the person's door at entry is so critical, because you're not going to be able to catch them throughout the run unless you're sacrificing line quite a bit, or your car is just substantially grippier than the one in front of you. So you really want to be entering on their door, like right on their door, next to them essentially, instead of behind them. And then that way you just can maintain that proximity throughout the run, even if you have less grip than the other person, because you're essentially drawing a tighter radius on the corner. You're on the inside of them because you're so close that you're basically cheating and getting to draw a shorter line. So once you're that close to them, it's actually easier to stay close because of the line advantage you have for that reason. If you're just behind them and you're driving their exact line, if their car's faster than you at all, you're just going to get gapped throughout the run. You have to sacrifice line at that point, and it will look like you're sacrificing line if you're behind them. But if you're next to them, you can't be in their car, so you have to be on an inside line relative to them. And that means that you're drawing a tighter circle, a shorter path. So you're going to be able to stay with them because of that. So, all right, let's see if this guy will pass. You go, you go. Oh, don't turn out, go. Oh, now, Charlie, it's not dinner time yet. You hungry, hungry dog. Hungry, hungry hippo. Just staring at me right here. Alright, left foot brake on this dude. Finally get somebody to follow. Please don't screw up. Watching that front tire to know when he's going to transition. If you see him angle up more, you know he's about to throw it in the other direction. And you also want to watch their counter steer in general. Right there, he overthrew it, and you see him correct with more angle. You want to watch the person's counter steer when you're tandeming, because that really tells you if they're in control of the car or not. If you see the front end pushing and doing a bunch of weird stuff, like he's getting a little sketchy right now, then you kind of know, oh, there's danger, I better back off, or I better really watch it or be ready on the brakes, because you don't want to get a wreck. Even though that is common in drifting, you want to try to avoid it as best you can. He's angling up too much right now, so coming into that corner, he's basically just angle stalling the car. There's really no reason to be pouring on that much angle. You want to angle up when you're trying to kill speed. When you're bleeding off speed, like on the entry right there, that's where you would throw big angle, and then you would dial it out as you come out of the corner, and then big angle again on the entry, boom. But then you dial it out as you're coming out of the corner, because you're gaining speed for the next corner. If you're just angle stalling and just back and forth wise fab crabbing it everywhere, you're going to be driving at 6 miles an hour, and it's really boring. You know, I like angle as much as the next guy. Trust me, I love throwing it backwards. But do that at entry, and then let your bite basically scrub speed and pull you back out of that backy. Don't just stall at the end of a corner or mid corner. You don't need to be pouring on more angle once you're already set in the corner. That's just slow driving. Quick brake, keep it there. All right. I wasn't really talking about my braking techniques and stuff following that guy, but you can see them. And I also talked about that in the other video. Left foot braking essentially and e-brake are your two techniques to follow someone closely and be able to slow down in time without hitting them. So e-braking is more of a jolting move where you have acceleration and then back off, acceleration, back off, and it's like a dive almost. It's very obvious. It looks kind of gnarly on the initial dive, but then you see kind of a bobbling effect, and that doesn't look as cool. So you would be better off if you're in a long extended corner to use left foot braking. That way you can really accurately match their speed and their angle, and you don't have to dive and then back off and dive and back off. It's also, of course, assuming you're good at left foot braking and you're not just stabbing the brakes and stuff. You need to really finesse that pedal. Most people who don't left foot brake are used to the clutch, so they're used to just slamming it down because it's a stiff clutch or whatever. And the first time they left foot brake, they try to smash their head on the windshield because they hit the brakes way too hard. So try practicing that. If you have an automatic daily driver, try left foot braking on the regular, just like gets your left foot ready for light pressure and steady pressure. I typically do that in like every automatic I drive when I'm just daily driving around, just left foot braking. I'm not like doing anything crazy. It just becomes a habit of, oh yeah, the left foot can do the brake modulation smoothly. So, little tip there, if you have an automatic daily driver, try it out. It'll help you get used to it in a real car. Alright, left foot brake stab, a little bit of e-brake to match the angle. This guy's a little slower and his countersteer's a little messy. He's understeering like crazy right there, as you saw, so paying attention to that front tire really tells you a lot about the attitude of the car. And he does not have it in total control. Way too late of an entry there. He's understeering. I'm going to pass him. Alright, little brake stab like I was talking about, and an e-brake grab just to get a little more flick out of it. The more things you add in your arsenal at one movement, the more aggressive you can make it look. Like I was talking about in the last video of just making the car look aggressive with inputs. That guy went way too wide, damn it. Just making the car look aggressive with inputs rather than just outright grip. You know, if you time everything to where the suspension loading is happening at the same time you're clutch kicking or e-braking or doing something else to add to the rotation, then you can make it look so aggressive, you know, out of nowhere basically. Jeez, guys. Just want to get out of here. This is a mess. Stop. This guy's understeering too. I can see it from back here. Oh no. Is he still there? I don't know. I'm passing anyway. I feel like I'm in a cage back there. Need to be free. These ponies need to be heard. Alright, so full throttle, just kind of walking it through here, little brakes there. Back on throttle to pull away from the outside. Then I kind of just modulate getting into the outside lane here. Quick through here, a little bit of e-brake and brake stab just to nose that clip. And then same thing here, a little bit, very lightly on that one. Clutch kick to get the transition to happen exactly when I want. Outside lane again. That's another thing people don't really talk about, but when you're in drift, you want to snappily transition the other direction real quick. Why do I keep saying snappily? Snappy? I don't know, whatever. When you're in drift and you want to transition the other way really quick, you can give it a clutch kick, and that will essentially help you transition at the exact moment that you want, rather than just waiting. Like a lot of people drive what I would call lazy on transitions, where they just let the car walk and like they don't force anything. They're just like, oh, okay, it's drifting, all right, okay, and then I still did it too snappy by being on throttle, but a lot of people just like drift and then lift and then back on. I don't know. It's so slow with the tail wagging, if you will, that I don't know. I get bored. These guys are really slow. I wonder if people are running 225s or something. I'm on 265 streets. Not comp tires, but 265s, because these cars can pull it no problem. Like, I have no lack of power here. But I'm just running these dudes down. Woo! Got way out there on that one. I thought I was going to touch. That's a fun entry there. Alright, what were we talking about? Snapping the entry with flicks. Throwing an e-brake grab and a brake stab at the same time, as well as when the car's naturally going to transition. Like, you kind of feel that in the steering, right? You know, okay, it's going to transition now. I don't know how to explain it other than the steering feel, which I can't really articulate that well. But basically, you feel the steering stiffness, and you know when you're drifting that it gets lighter, and basically you can feel that change as you transition. So once you're getting ready to transition naturally, you can add in that brake stab and the e-brake grab and make that happen all much more quickly. Why you wreck, just stay still. People can go around you. If you keep rolling, you're a wild card. No one knows what's going to happen. Alright, brake stab and e-brake. See that? Just a quick flick there by incorporating both of those at the same time. Same thing here. Not as aggressive because we're going uphill. Doesn't look as cool. Brake stab. And notice I am clutching in every time I'm doing this brake stab, because that's reducing the rear wheel speed really quickly. It's essentially making the rears act like I'm e-braking because I'm clutching in, so they can slow down a lot. And since they're already sliding, the wheel speed change happens very easily. It's not like you're hooked up and just braking. So when you clutch in and e-brake brake like that, it effectively is like an e-brake move. But with an e-brake move, you're always extending to a wider position on the track. That was way too late, dude. Way too late right there. He angle stalled in the first direction and then had a terrible entry. He keeps doing it. Like I talked about in the last video, if you really want to precisely wall ride and you want it to snap, you go low angle in the first direction and then snap it hard where you want to go. He's just angling up, and then you have to wait for all that angle to come back, and you can't get the transition timed right on the next direction, so don't do that. Light angle, then boom, transition. If you just flow it everywhere. This guy's asking if I'm making a video. Yeah, I actually am right now, and you're in it. What was I saying? Okay, so light angle and then big transition. You don't want to be flowy angle everywhere. It just kills all your speed. So here, I'm going to go light angle there, and then big, well, that was a light flick, and I ended up screwing it up anyway. Do it again. But that guy throwing it towards the wall with the nose of the car, way too much angle, just made it, impossible to follow, essentially. It's just a huge angle stall before the actual entry. And I will admit, it is fairly difficult to learn that, because when you're going at low angle toward the wall in the first direction, you really have to modulate your throttle and know how much bite your car has, because it's possible, it's fairly easy if you don't know it yet, to straighten out, because you're actually just barely keeping the wheel speed up. I mean, say you're doing 60 miles an hour, your rear tires are doing 70 or 75, just barely loose, okay, not like smoking them out. And that's hard to modulate. You really have to learn that grip and drift line that you cross, that you're balancing there before you throw your big flick. But man, it makes it look cool when you get it right. It's also a lot easier to do all of this with a very responsive power band. If you have a huge turbo, it's so difficult to get that wheel speed just right, because really drifting is all about dialing in your wheel speed for any given situation. So the more accurately you can do that with a good wide power band that's responsive, the better. That's why V8s are so popular, because you can kind of just do whatever you want with the wheel speed at will. You don't have to worry about a turbo. You just roll into it and it's there. They're also much less fun to drive, in my opinion, but they are easier. I screwed up right there. Alright, let's do another few laps here and see what else I can think of to talk about. We talked about wheel speed on transition. You want to keep it lower, that way the car reacts more quickly to what you want it to do. Don't do... Man, really like to get some smooth laps here. A lot of wrecks in the server. So wheel speed on transition, keep it in check. Don't just smoke it out, because you're going to get the car out of hand and you're not going to be able to stop the wheel speed. You're going to have to wait for it to come back down, or clutch in and brake for it to come back down. And that's all about side bite there, is letting your wheel speed back down so that you can get grip out of the car. Okay. Don't know what you're doing, but you're definitely sketchy. It's lagging a little bit too. There I'm just having to clutch in and rev behind him, not even have any forward bite, because I'm just about to hit him. Since he's angle stalling and doing a very weird line. What I would consider weird. Oh, don't pull out of drift. If you abruptly pull out of drift in front of someone that's drifting, you might get hit. I've actually done it to Aaron before. We were following, or he was following me at Mineral Wells, and somebody had spun out way ahead of us, and I saw it, but he didn't, so I was backing off like, oh shit, let's pull out of drift. God, dude, you suck. Seriously. Driving like crap in front of me, and then I try to pass you and just hit me immediately. Just get out of here. Have some track etiquette. Alright, so anyways, don't pull out of drift or stop immediately when someone's hot behind you drifting. Like, you can cause a collision for sure. I pulled out of drift and he didn't notice, and he was still right on my shit. And it was close. No hit though. Alright, Ivan, let's get some left foot braking going on here. There we go. Full throttle to keep the power in, and the turbo spooled if you have a turbo car, and then brakes just to stay behind them. If you have enough forward bite in your real car, or in any of these cars as well, you'll actually find that full throttle will push through the front tires, so you'll lose traction in the front end. You'll need to upgrade to a better tire, or just be a little easier on the throttle, because it can literally just launch you straight and make the front end unresponsive to steering. My car doesn't really do that, but I've driven cars that can do that. Position slightly before him so that I could dive. He hit the wall, but we straightened him out. Oh, now he's jumping and flipping and rolling. And hitting us again. Alright, we're out of here. Well, looks like it's slim pickings now for following. I see 3 other people on track, and those are the dudes that just kept wrecking behind me, so probably not going to slow down to follow them. Just talk a little bit more, do a few more laps. Talked about wheel speed on transition, talked about left foot braking, talked about e-braking and how it surges and whatnot when you're following someone, and how you should really try to left foot brake when you can. If you have a whole lot of quick transitions, you can't always left foot brake throughout all of that. Sometimes you have to use the e-brake in there just to make the pivot happen exactly you want. And it also, I mean, don't try not to use the e-brake just because somebody said so. It's definitely a useful tool. It can make your driving look extra snappy and cool if used in certain areas. Woo! Knew I was going in deep, so I tried to angle out, walk it out without a ton of angle. Did not work. Well, what those dudes were doing, just cruising there. Well, hopefully you guys heard that a lot more clearly this time, and you're able to see more of the track now that it's a daylight setting on the server. I wish I had a few better examples to follow, but maybe we'll do another video of any specifics anybody wants covered. I read all those comments, so I appreciate you guys enjoying it and appreciate the feedback. Hopefully, like I said, that the music is a little lower this time. I changed the mixing settings in OBS, so it should be a little better. But yeah, if you have anything specific you want to see or you want me to explain, I'd be happy to do so. Or we can just talk about different tracks or cars. I can demonstrate the line and go tandem with someone good, add another track. Obviously, we already covered this one, but it was dark. But yeah, thanks for watching. And I hope you enjoyed that and learned something. All right, Charlie. You ready for dinner? Uh-huh. You fat ass.